You have broken up with the same person 4 times. Different name, different face, same exact pattern, and the most disturbing part isn't the pattern itself. It's the fact that you are the common thread running through every single one of them. By the time this ends, you're going to understand the exact mechanism that keeps pulling you back toward the same kind of person over and over without you ever consciously choosing it. And more than that, you're going to see the one specific moment right before it happens where you actually have the power to break the cycle. Most people walk straight past that moment without ever noticing it's there. You might have walked past it a dozen times already, and by the end you'll know exactly what it looks like. Before we get into it, notice that the obvious explanations don't actually hold up. It's not that you have terrible judgment because you can spot red flags instantly in someone else's relationship while missing the identical ones in your own. It's not that toxic people are simply everywhere, because plenty of people you know date perfectly stable partners without even trying. Something more specific is happening, something underneath the level of conscious choice. And there are 3 forces working against you here, none of which work the way you'd expect. The first one isn't even about the person you keep choosing. It's about a decision your brain made before you were old enough to have any say in it. Psychologists call it attachment theory, and one of its central ideas is that your earliest relationships build something researchers call an internal working model, a kind of unconscious template for what love, closeness, and conflict are supposed to feel like. If chaos, unpredictability, or emotional withholding were part of your early environment, your nervous system doesn't file that under painful. It files it under normal. Normal isn't the same as good, but normal is what your body reaches for under stress every single time. So when you meet someone stable and consistent, something in you can actually feel bored, even faintly suspicious, like you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. And when you meet someone who runs hot and cold, who makes you chase their approval, that instability can register as chemistry instead of as a warning. Picture this. You're on a first date with someone kind, attentive, easy to talk to, and you catch yourself checking your phone, feeling strangely flat, already mentally halfway out the door. 3 weeks later, you're texting someone who barely responds, and you can't stop thinking about them. That gap in reaction isn't random, and it isn't taste. It's your internal working model doing exactly what it was built to do, running a comparison against a template you didn't choose and can't consciously feel. Here's the part that makes this even harder to catch in real time. This template doesn't announce itself as a memory. It shows up disguised as a gut feeling, as instinct, as the thing people tell you to trust. It can even disguise itself as high standards, because you're not attracted to just anyone unstable. You're attracted to a very specific flavor of it, one that matches the exact emotional weather you grew up navigating. Someone else, shaped by a completely different childhood, could sit across from the person you can't stop thinking about and feel absolutely nothing. That's the detail most people miss when they try to fix this by changing their type on paper. Dating someone with a different job, a different look, a different social circle doesn't touch the underlying template, because the template was never about surface details in the first place. It was built entirely out of emotional rhythm, the timing of affection, the presence or absence of unpredictability, the specific feeling of having to earn calm. Change the surface as many times as you want. If the underlying rhythm matches, the pull comes back. But recognizing the blueprint is only step 1, because knowing where the pull comes from doesn't automatically stop it from pulling. And here's where it gets more complicated, because your brain isn't just replaying an old template in the background. It's actively building a case for it in real time, using evidence you don't even notice yourself collecting. This is confirmation bias, one of the most well-documented patterns in human thinking. Once you hold a belief, your mind unconsciously hunts for evidence that supports it and quietly discards whatever contradicts it. If some part of you believes love has to be earned, or that you're too much, or that people eventually leave, you don't experience new relationships with a blank slate. You experience them as evidence-gathering missions for a verdict you already reached years ago, long before this particular person walked into the picture. Picture this. You're 3 dates in with someone who checks in when they say they will, who doesn't play games, and instead of relief, you feel a low hum of doubt, so you start scanning for the crack, the inconsistency, the sign that this is fake too, the thing that will finally prove you were right not to trust it. Meanwhile, with the person who runs hot and cold, every small crumb of attention lands like proof you were right to hope. A returned text feels like devotion. A half apology feels like real change. A rare good weekend gets filed away as evidence, while 3 bad weeks quietly get explained away as circumstance. You are not choosing badly at random. You are filtering the entire pool of available people through a lens built to confirm what you already expected to find, and the lens is so well practiced you never even notice you're wearing it. And it doesn't stop at how you read someone else. It reshapes how you read yourself inside the relationship too. When something stable starts to feel wrong, you don't usually conclude the relationship is healthy and your reaction is old wiring. You conclude something is missing, that there's no spark, that you're settling. When something unstable starts to feel consuming, you don't usually conclude the relationship is harmful and your reaction is old wiring either. You conclude this must be real because nothing has ever felt this intense before. Same bias, pointed in two different directions, and both readings land you in exactly the same place. And that filtering has a partner in crime, something that goes even further than just noticing the wrong things and ignoring the right ones. Because it's not only that you notice the familiar pattern, part of you may actually be trying to fix it, which sounds almost noble until you see what it actually costs. Psychoanalysts have a name for this: repetition compulsion, the theory that people unconsciously recreate painful past situations, not out of self-destruction, but in an attempt to finally get a different outcome, to master something that once left them powerless. If a parent or early caregiver was emotionally unavailable, some part of you may still be trying to win the love of someone who withholds it, as if solving this version means retroactively solving the original one. It never quite does, but the attempt can feel so much like determination or even like love that it's almost impossible to tell the difference from the inside. And once you're actually inside a relationship like that, a separate process starts reinforcing the bond from the outside. Unpredictable affection, the push and pull of warmth, followed by coldness, followed by warmth again, creates what's known as intermittent reinforcement, the same mechanism that makes slot machines so hard to walk away from. Consistent reward gets ignored fast. Unpredictable reward gets chased for years. Your brain doesn't bond most strongly to consistency. It bonds most strongly to uncertainty with occasional reward mixed in. Picture this: you're mid-conversation with a friend, trying to explain why you keep going back, and you hear yourself say, "But when it's good, it's really good," and you watch your friend's face change, because they can see what you can't fully see yet, that the good moments aren't happening despite the instability. They're happening because of it, engineered by it, whether anyone involved is doing it on purpose or not. This is the part that should actually worry you. Not that you're drawn to a type, but that some part of you may be choosing the instability itself, mistaking the intensity of the chase for the depth of the connection. And once that bond has formed, it rarely stays at the same intensity. It tends to escalate because the same nervous system that adapted to unpredictability once will keep adapting, requiring a slightly bigger high and a slightly bigger low to register the same emotional hit it used to get from something smaller. Researchers and clinicians describe the deepest version of this as trauma bonding, a strong attachment that forms specifically because of, not despite, a repeating cycle of tension and relief. It's the same reason people stay long after friends and family can plainly see the damage. From the outside, it looks like poor judgment. From the inside, it feels indistinguishable from loyalty. None of these three forces, the old blueprint, the confirming mind, the drive to finally win an old fight, are proof that something is broken in you. They're proof that you're human, running the same basic software every person runs, just loaded with a different history than the person next to you. The uncomfortable truth is that we don't really fall for people. We fall for familiarity. And then we spend years mistaking the feeling of familiarity for the feeling of love. That confusion isn't a personal flaw. It's a design feature of a mind built to prioritize the predictable over the healthy, because for most of human history, predictable meant survivable, even in the moments it didn't mean happy. We don't choose our type. We choose the version of home we already know how to survive. That single idea reframes the entire question people ask themselves after a breakup like this. It's never really, why does this keep happening to me? It's what is this still trying to resolve? What old, unfinished thing is quietly attempting to complete itself through someone brand new, wearing a face you've never seen before? That's why the pattern can survive years of therapy talk and self-help books and promises to yourself that this time will be different. You can out-argue a belief with logic and still lose to it in the moment your nervous system is the one making the call. Zoom out far enough and this stops being a story about one unlucky relationship history. It becomes a story about how societies quietly pass down emotional inheritance the same way they pass down height, or handwriting, or an accent nobody consciously chose. Whole families can operate on the same template for generations, mistaking the repetition for proof it must be normal, since everyone around them seems to be running some version of it too. What looks from a distance like bad luck with people is often something closer to an unbroken chain, quietly waiting for one person in it to notice the chain is there at all. So the actionable piece here isn't a new dating rule or a red flag checklist you'll forget by the third date. It's a single question asked at the exact moment you feel that pull, that instant spark of interest towards someone who makes you a little nervous, who runs hot and cold, who feels like a puzzle you personally need to solve. The question is this: am I drawn to this person, or am I drawn to the challenge of finally being enough for someone like them? That question won't kill the attraction. It isn't supposed to. It's supposed to slow it down just long enough for you to choose with your present self instead of the version of you that first learned what love was supposed to feel like, back before you had any say in the matter. Ask it out loud if you have to a friend, to a notes app, to no one at all. The goal isn't a perfect answer. The goal is the half second of hesitation that a fully automatic reaction never gets. Go back to that fourth breakup. The different name, the different face, the same exact pattern. The pattern was never really about them. It was about the moment before you met them. The moment your nervous system decided this felt like home, before your conscious mind ever got a vote in the decision. So here's what I actually want to know. When you think back on the people you've been drawn to, is there a version of this pattern you can already see in yourself or in someone close to you that you've never actually said out loud until right now, watching this? If something in this landed a little too close, tell me where in the comments, quietly or otherwise. There's usually more hiding underneath the first honest answer than people expect to find.